Okay, let's move on to process costing. This is slightly different than job costing, and you're going to find the difference to be very helpful in costing out products that are continually made identically. In job costing, we talked a lot about one person would allocate their time, or materials would be allocated to jobs, and overhead would be allocated to jobs. In process costing, we're making the same thing over and over and over again, so we know everybody's time, every piece of material, everything goes to this one product, so we don't have to break it into the different job costing. So let's talk about the similarities and differences between job, order, and process costing. Both assign materials, labor, and overhead costs to the product and have a mechanism for computing the unit product costs. Both systems have the same accounts, including manufacturing overhead, raw materials, work in progress, finished goods, and of course the flow of costs through the manufacturing accounts is basically the same in both systems, but there are differences. So the differences between them are process costing is used when a single product is produced on a continuing basis or for a long period of time. Job order costing is for many different jobs having different production requirements and are worked on for each period. So an example would be if I was a furniture manufacturer, I would be manufacturing different pieces of furniture, and I would have to allocate time and materials and resources and so on to each piece of furniture to be able to figure out the cost, because there are obviously going to be significant differences between building a chair and building a table. Well, in process costing, let's say a bottle of Coca-Cola, if you're bottling Coca-Cola, every bottle of Coca-Cola is exactly the same. It's not different. There's not difference between a table and a chair. It's the same. So I don't have to worry so much about, did I spend this much on this product and this much on this product? It should always be exactly the same. So that's a big difference. Other things is systems in process costing accumulate cost by department, whereas in job order costings, they're accumulated by individual jobs. Also, systems in process costing compute unit cost by department, and job costing are by a job-by-job basis on the cost sheet. So we can see that the difference is, instead of a job-based function, it becomes a process or department-based function, and so I know what the costs are based on department, not on an individual job or cost card on that job. Beyond that, in processing departments, any unit in an organization where materials, labor, and overhead are used could be a processing department. They are performed uniformly and homogeneous. So when you think of activities being performed, the output of a processing department is it has to move through exactly the same way every time. That makes it a part of the process of this product. So if you are filling bottles of Coca-Cola, or you're shipping them, or whatever you're doing, it's exactly the same every time. It's an ongoing process. Then we can cost it out through this process costing system. Beyond that, you can see that your flow of materials and labor and overhead costs is, here's an example of it. Direct materials, direct labor, and overhead is work in progress. That all goes to work in progress until it's done. And when it's done, it becomes a finished good, and finished goods, when they're sold, become a cost of goods sold. And that's similar in both process costing and job costing. The difference, of course, is in jobs is the direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead all go to a job, and then the job turns into finished goods, and the finished goods turn into cost of goods sold. In a process system, the direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overheads are traced to departments, and processing departments are pushed into the finished goods cost, and finally the cost of goods sold is the product goods sold. So there's a slight difference between the two that is enough that we need to think about them as two different things. Are you doing this on a job-by-job basis? Say, example, a law firm. A law firm would have case-by-case basis. Their hours would be billed to each one, and that would be the proper way to account for your costs in a law firm. Whereas Coca-Cola or anything that's manufactured in uniform ways, they're not going to have job costing, because every bottle of Coca-Cola is going to be the same, so they're going to use process costing, and they're going to cost the material by the department. So as you think, there'll be a department of materials, there'll be a purchasing department, there might be a There's certainly going to be a manufacturing department. All these things are going to be costs that go associated into that product, and we're going to look at it in what's called equivalent units. We'll get to that next.